United States regarding COVID-19. This board meeting is being held via video conference and in person. Electronic and regular notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the township clerk, has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and at each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kim? Mr. Cass?
Here.
Mr. Capello?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Luer?
Here.
Mrs. Gould?
Here.
Mrs. Wagner?
Here. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and now we have Ms. Lee with our special presentation of our audit.
Just a quick reminder to everybody, we have a new setup tonight for audio, and every time you speak, you must use the microphone, it being piped directly into the recording.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see everyone here. I believe the mayors have passed out a 2-page summary for all of you. Okay. Her and I talked this morning. We weren't sure whether you will feel comfortable with me handing out you physical copies, so we felt this was the best way. I just want to start off with saying thank you to your financial administration for all their help during the audit. Another year has passed, and of course, this year is no different than last year, where the state has delayed their issuance of the GASB 75 OPEB report. So tonight, you can officially accept the audit because it is still in draft format, but none of your financial information would change on the budgetary basis because the OPEB information will not affect the budgetary, which is what the district operates on. So 2-page summary in front of you. If you look at the very top of the first page, is a recap of the fund balance comparison at June 30th, 20 to June 30th, 19. And the total overall fund balance at June 30th, 20 is $9,332,000 compared to the previous year, $7,586,000, which is an increase of $1,745,000. The breakdown of the various components of fund balance is as follows: $1,115,000 in encumbrances, which are goods that you have placed an order for but hasn't received yet as of June 30th. $5,504,000 in capital reserve. This looks like a big number, but when you compare it to your total capital assets of $32 million, that really is not such a significant number, especially if you consider the fact that if you have a couple of big projects, for example, if you need to do an HVAC project upgrade or a roof replacement, the money is probably going to be gone before you know it. Maintenance reserve, $1,500,000. The current year excess surplus, $200,000, which you're required to use to balance your budget in your 2021-2022 year. Then you have prior year excess surplus, also $200,000, which you're using this year in your 2021 budget. And then what we call the designated for subsequent years expenditure, $176,000, which is the additional money that you took out from your fund balance to cover for the state aid shortage. The unreserved, which is your 2%, this the state allows you to keep in your unreserved unassigned fund balance, is $635,000, which is usually adjusted by any excess in extraordinary aid or non-public transportation aid that the district receives. The middle of the page is a recap of what makes up the $0.7 million overall increase in fund balance. And as you can see, some of the bigger components are the local revenue of excess of $230,000, the unexpended budget appropriation, $3.47 million. But if you actually factor in the $1,115,000 in encumbrances, that is, you're only left with $2,336,000. Utilizing $200,000 in surplus, liquidating prior year encumbrances of $1.5 million. And there's other smaller components in here. And also the withdrawal from maintenance reserve for various maintenance projects in the district, $188,000. So overall, the district had one of the good things that happened during the pandemic, if I can say that, is that the district actually saved some expenses in terms of substitute cost, overtime, probably in utilities, and that's why you see an increase in fund balance this year compared to the previous year. And the bottom of the page is the overall trend of how much fund balance you're using each year to balance your budget. And as you can see, you've been pretty steady at $200,000. But during this current year, the 2021 year, you're using an extra $176,000, like I said before, to cover the loss in state aid. And then the second page is just a recap of the activities in the capital maintenance reserve, activities in the food service fund, which, as we've seen in most districts, we've seen a decline in overall ending balance just because of the school closure and the decline in sales. And the very bottom of the page is the recap of the long-term debt the district has in terms of capital leases, net pension liability, and the comp absences. And the district had paid off their last state serial bonds during June 30th, 19. So other than the capital leases, the district is debt-free. Any questions?
I can't really see you guys all that well, so if you have a question, just speak up.
Hey, Laura, it's Mike. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it, and appreciate your work in helping us with the audit. So, I think we've asked this question before in the past, but just, you kind of mentioned about where our capital reserve and maintenance reserve accounts are. Where's a good number? I mean, you see a lot of school districts, so I feel like we're usually good. We've seen an increase, it looks like this year, of about 2.3 million between those two. Is that correct? $2 million in cap reserve and looks like about
$1.9 million in capital reserve and $296,000 in maintenance reserve.
Okay. So where's a good number compared to the total budget of a district?
So I usually equate not capital reserve, not to the total budget of the district, but to your capital assets and your capital needs of a district. So for example, when you compare your capital assets to your capital reserve balance, you're approximately at 17%. So compared to other districts that are similar in size and similar in budget, you are probably I see a range between anywhere from 10% up to 44% I've seen. So you're kind of on the lower range. And like I said, it really all depends on the capital needs of the district. And also, especially, you have to factor in whether you will contemplate going out for debt to fund any capital projects. Because if you want to be like a town where you do pay-as-you-go basis, then you really need to build up a healthy reserve balance. Because like I said, if you have a big project, like a roof project or HVAC upgrade to your whole district, your $5 million is probably going to be gone, or it could probably not be enough. So you have to factor all of that in. So to me, if you want to stay debt-free and if you have aging facilities that needs major upgrades, then you probably want to keep increasing your capital reserve.
Thank you. I think, yeah, and I think I don't want to speak for the entire board, but I think the goal of the board has been to not go out to debt unless we needed a major construction of $5+ million or something like that, an addition or a new building. But the roof projects and, things like that, we've typically taken out of our reserve and actually been able to take out of the reserve and continue to build that. So it's been, and I think we're in a good spot. I mean, obviously we went through the budget and we go through the long range facilities planning, but I think we're in a spot where even if we had to replace everything we had outstanding, we probably could cover it under our reserve accounts now. So and obviously, the emergencies too, but thank you. That's really helpful to understand those percentages, because that's something that we've always tried to figure out. It's like your retirement. Am I good? Am I not good? I'm not sure. So that's helpful. Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions?
I think we're good here, Laura.
Thank you. Okay, well, Ms. Lee, thank you so much for coming and presenting to us. I'm sorry to be talking behind you. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry. I have my back to you also.
No,
Well, thank you.
that's okay.
Thank you for having me tonight. And it's good to see everybody.
Thank you very much.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, on to superintendent's comments. Dr. Forte?
Thank you. So just an update on extracurriculars. We are looking to do an after-school and virtual enrichment program for K-5 after the new year. There's a proposal put together in your packet for the 26th, 23rd to vote on, and then it'll get publicized to the public and see if there's an interest for children to take part in some enrichment programs, but they will all be virtual. We're also looking at Valley View athletics. Right now, the only ones that would be basketball, the girls and boys basketball. And we are working with some other towns. It looks like it should be a go, depending on whether or not there's changes. Obviously, I stopped saying that a while ago, but we probably have to say that again. This is all dependent upon whether or not things stay the way they are, or if the governor changes the way things are going in schools right now. So again, we're looking to run the boys and girls basketball. We're looking to start that either right before Christmas break or after. And there'll be more information on that. We're also looking to start our clubs for Valley View, Lakeview, and Riverview. They would all be virtual. That would include the music programs, the clubs that we have in Lakeview and Riverview, as well as a few in Valley View. And I've also been working with the town athletic groups, the wrestling program and the basketball. Oh, by the way, go back to Valley View. We would also offer a cheerleading too for the two basketball programs. There'd be a cheerleading program as well. Town athletics, we're looking to allow the town to use our gyms. It would be only on Friday nights and Saturdays. It would only be Riverview and Valley View. The annex can be used on Friday nights with permission from the parish. I did have a conversation with the 3 groups and I sent them an email today. So it looks like we're getting pretty close to solving, to coming up with a plan that'll work for everybody. It would probably be 2 weeks before holiday vacation and then about 5 or 6 weeks after holiday vacation. That's what we're looking at right now. Again, more information. I will have it on the agenda to approve the use of our facilities for PAL sports. And that's my report for today.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Dr. Cullis, Assistant Superintendent, comments?
Thank you. So we've been talking about the National Blue Ribbon Award for a while, but this Thursday, November 12th, is the official National Blue Ribbon 2020 Award ceremony, and it will be awarded to Riverview School by the United States Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. So those plaques and the banners should be coming shortly after. So it's this Thursday, and Dr. Forte and I have a link that will be able to participate. So this concludes the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis. Damaris, the business administrator's comments?
No comments.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have our first public discussion session. The time I have is 7:45 p.m., so we're opening the meeting to the public. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make to the board. Is anybody in the room with you guys?
No, Laura.
Thank you. So if there's anybody on virtually that would like to make a comment, please just type in the chat box and we'll call you. Okay, I see no comments and it is 7:46, so we're going to close the first public session and move on with the meeting. On to old business, no action to be taken. Mr. Capella, would you mind moving us through that, please?
Sure. At the next meeting, we will be reviewing the board report, the following reports from October 2020, the Treasurer of School Monies and the Board Secretary report, education reports on enrollment and the Health Office for October 2020, and the minutes from our work session of October 12th and our regular session meeting of October 26th.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. On to new business action to be taken. Mr. Anderson, would you take us through that, please?
Absolutely. If there are no objections, I'd like to move new business personnel items 1 through 8 as a block. That includes new hires, resignations, retirements, pay adjustments, as well as some substitutes and some individual employee changes, leaves, and whatnot.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Comments, questions?
Just a congratulations to Mrs. Wartz on her retirement, and she will be dearly missed at Valley View. She is our health teacher and has done such a fantastic job with training all of our staff in CPR, as well as providing a very thorough and exceptional health program at Valley View.
We should also congratulate Mr. Oscar, custodian at Valley View, who is also retiring.
Congratulations to both of them. Any other comments? And I think somebody already said it, but welcome to our new hire, a new behaviorist for the district. Anything else? I don't see anybody waving at me, so roll call, please.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Luer,
Yes.
Mrs. Gould,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Okay, there is nothing under IMP this evening. On to policy revisions. Mr. Anderson, would you mind taking us through them, please?
Yeah, I think, Laura, we missed new business, no action to be taken under personnel.
Yeah.
I can step through that if you'd like.
Yeah, if you'd like to go through both of those, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Absolutely. So at our next meeting, we will be voting on the listed personnel items 1 through 6 right now. Includes some new addition, some movement across the guide, as well as teacher observations, the virtual after-school enrichment program that Dr. Forte spoke about earlier in his comments, as well as some additional leaves and mentorships in the personnel section. Any questions on personnel for our next meeting, that is?
I have one question. This is Katie Gould. It says there's an attachment about the virtual after-school enrichment program. I didn't see any of that in the drive. Is it a paper handout or what?
It's not on for approval tonight. It's in your agenda. It's in your packet for the 23rd.
For next week. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Am I correct in my belief that items 5 and 6 are, we mean that next school year, we will have 2 full-time drivers?
These two drivers are interested in being trained as drivers. They currently do not have a license, and they do not, they know how to drive, but they do not have a CDL. And our staff take the time and train them. And once they obtain their license, they will need to stay with the district for at least a minimum 1 year. If they do not stay with the district for 1 year, then they will have to reimburse the district up to $1,000 for the training.
What time frame are we looking at for them to, I see it's December 1st, but I assume that's when the mentoring and training is going to begin. When are we looking at them becoming fully fledged bus drivers?
As soon as they pass the CDL tests, they will be available. Training, it takes approximately between 3 and 6 months for training. Then they'll be qualified to take the tests.
Okay, so probably for the next school year.
Most likely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add on to that, Damaris, I'm 100% sure I know the answer to this, but just for clarification of the public, those drivers will be trained without students on the bus, correct?
That is correct. And a lot of the times they would drive with student, but as a passenger, just to observe the route. And they will be trained after school.
Thank you. Laura, did you want me to step through policy also?
That would be great. Thank you.
Sure. At our next meeting, we'll be voting on second reading and adoption for quite a few policies. We had first reading last month at our meeting. Any questions on the policies?
I don't see any questions. Mr. Cass, would you mind taking us through finance as well as operations?
Will do. At the next meeting, either I or James will be asking the board to accept the 2019-2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Audit Report, which had no recommendations, and auditor's management report on administrative findings for the year ending June 30th, 2020. In operations, we only have one item is on the transportation. We ask the board to approve to outsource the following joint transportation agreement with Hunterton Educational Service Commission for the 2020-2021 school year. Route 303, $55,842.45. Route 307, $57,067.12. Route 358, $57,684.04.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Okay, so we're at good of the cause, the committee reports, correspondence, discussion items. And here I would ask the committee chairs if there's any topics that came up during your committee meetings that are not on the agenda, if you would just review those now for the board.
On behalf of Mr. Kim, since he's absent tonight, I would like to go over the Finance Committee report. We have the new educator health plan is currently estimated to be a loss to the district of $137,500 for the year. We had the money returned from a check that was stolen. I think it was 2 or 3 months ago. I don't remember exactly when the check was stolen. We have submitted a grant for water infrastructure in the amount of $86,000 and we'll see if that gets approved by the.
Can I interrupt you?
Please.
The $86,000 is for the security grant. The water infrastructure grant, we do not know exactly how much that will be.
My apologies. You are correct. I got the lines crossed. Need to clean my glasses. We have a few items that we want to budget for the next fiscal year. New long-range facility plan. The last one was done 6 years ago. A new, much more detailed demographic study. We need to replace a 60,000 square foot section of the Lakeview roof. We need to complete the long-delayed repair replacement of the Riverview all-purpose room HVAC, and we want to do more of the Valley View interior doors.
Thank you, Mr. Lohr.
Laura, can I mention about the foundation meeting that I went to recently?
Please.
The Foundation of Denville, soon to be renamed to Denville Education Foundation. They're in the process of changing their name, logo, and kind of rebranding a little bit. But they had their first meeting since kind of coming back from COVID. They've had some over the summer, but this is the first one since the school year. They did approve some grants. They are still accepting grants. They did not have their golf outing, as we know, this year. So they're evaluating some options as far as fundraising, but they do have some remaining funds that they are still evaluating and accepting grants for. So I believe they accepted 2 grants at the meeting. One of them, I believe, was for Riverview for some umbrellas for tables. So hopefully they'll be used for outdoor education spaces. And I think the other one may have been Riverview or Valley View also. I don't recall the last one, but I can get the information to everybody. But they are accepting grants and they're rolling forward. They're looking at some options. They were trying to see if they could do a spring golf outing. But unfortunately, Rockaway River Country Club has construction going on, so it will not be available. So they're still evaluating options, and I'll keep everybody updated if they have any new information.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Laura, do you mind if I go back to an old business item? I just had a question about the enrollment reports.
Absolutely not.
Okay. When I was looking at the October enrollment reports, I didn't see any data in the spreadsheet because I wanted to compare 2020 to 2019. I was just curious where we fell on October 16th. Do you guys have the total enrollment number? The students, and if you don't write the second, you don't have to answer.
Because we only have September.
Yeah.
We'll have October and November.
Right. Well,
I want to know the exact number.
yeah, no, I mean, we'll know it obviously before we have to approve it. I was just curious because, yeah, I was just trying to see the differential between 2019 and 2020. So, which when
I didn't use the microphone. So yes, I will find it and get it to you. And if we can get it, we'll get it back to you.
I appreciate that. Dave,
That would be the exact date of October 15th, the enrollment of that day. Unless you want to, I can tell you right now how many kids are in the district right now.
well, I don't really care. I know October 15th is the official, right?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
really
the
care about
official.
that as much as just the number.
Mrs. Wagner, I'd like to share. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to share about the subcommittee, the responsive practices for student equity. I realize I haven't been sharing much with the rest of the board about this, but and I missed a meeting last month, but we had I believe it was our 3rd meeting in October. And I would like to just share a little bit about what we've been doing. It's made up with various district staff and school staff and some members of the community. We come together and we've been talking about a lot of great, discussion points regarding, mostly spurred on by this year's recent events and, publicity about racial equity, events going on. So, but we do want to address all different aspects of it in the committee. But we've had some really great conversations. And I know that Dr. Cullis has been excellent in telling us what, even without us requesting, without the community requesting more things, there's been a lot of work she's been doing with the schools. And both with professional development, and we're going to do some virtual assemblies for the kids this year as well. And so right now we're talking about the plans for Black History Month, which I think actually that's what the assemblies are for. And we've been working on coming up with a statement for the district, basically a statement on equity as well that we're coming up with. And I just wasn't sure if anybody else had any other questions or would like to know more about it. Mr. Kim and I are on the committee, and obviously Dr. Forte and Dr. Cullis are on the calls. But if anybody else had any questions on what's going on, I'd love to answer them. It's mostly about getting the conversation going from, all different aspects. And some community members were saying things like, oh, you don't celebrate Black History Month. How can you not do that? But and a lot of times it was a matter of misinterpretation or confusion, rather than having a lot of, celebrations like that. They're kind of spread out throughout the year more. But this year we're definitely talking about, how best the district can acknowledge things like this. And we've had some really great talks. So if anybody had any questions about it, I'd be happy to help answer or refer them to Dr. Cullis.
Thank you, Ms. Gould. I'm wondering if the discussions have come up about, I think you highlighted a good point about misconceptions that maybe people didn't understand how the district covered different topics. Has the committee discussed at all, once the statement is ready, will there be an addition possibly to the website, kind of highlighting that statement, as well as maybe explaining a little bit about how the district addresses the subject?
That might be a better question for Dr. Cullis to answer. We haven't discussed, how the district will present this information. It's really just been about getting some open communication and talking about, parents' concerns and firsthand experiences, and what they want to see. And it's really been good to get that conversation going, like I said. And yeah, I guess that's it for right now.
We do plan to take the statement, that the mission really of the committee, and put that on the website. And I've been collecting, so our first month of Native American heritage and Hispanic heritage, starting to collect samples of work and activities and curriculum pieces that from the actual classroom. And then we'll put those on so that parents can see the types of things that we are doing, as well as provide some resources for parents who might want to connect with Denville Voices or other groups, in the community, or other curricular resources too.
I'm also looking into, we brought up at the last IMP meeting, but we're also looking into how this, we have the subcommittee smaller so that there weren't too many people, trying to speak at once, kind of thing, and could be more intimate. But I also want to be able for us to be a gateway to have input from a wider range of community members. So we've been just started discussing a little bit about that as well, which we'll have to just sort out logistics of. But I think it's important to not just have a few representatives, but be able to have, a good avenue for any questions along these lines, and stories that might not, be like they might not want to necessarily report something to the school, but when you start asking people and talking to people about their experience, they may be like, oh, well, yeah, there was that one time. So, but I think it's a long journey, not a one-time event at all. But I think this is a really great start. Our next meeting is going to be in the beginning of December. Rather than trying to squeeze two in the busy months of November and December, we're just fitting in one.
Well, thank you for sharing with us the work of the committee. It's good to hear all the new things that you guys are considering, as well as rolling it into things the district has already had in place. Like I said, I really can't see you guys, so I don't know if anybody else has anything they wanted to share from their committee or otherwise.
I think we're good, Laura.
I just have something quick, sorry. I had a good meeting with the YMCA to renew our lease with them. They agreed to keep the rates the way they are, and I agreed to keep it where we would not charge them any rent until it does, in the lease, it does say that both sides would agree to negotiate if there was a change in the COVID crisis during the terms of the lease. But right in the lease are actually the rates that they're charging the families, which is important that it stays in there, because they really are charging minimal fees to get us through the COVID crisis, and they're operating in the red. So obviously I don't want to charge them any rent. So I have that on the agenda for the next meeting. It's something I've just been working on. They have a new CEO.
Thank you, Dr. Forte.
Oh, sorry. Also, there was 1,620 kids on October 15th. That's the exact NJ Smart number.
Thank you. So about 50 less than the same time last year.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
2. Today, we're 1622, and this date last year was 1665.
Okay. We need to open the meeting for second public comments. The time is 8:06. If there is anyone in person or virtual who would like to make a comment, please make yourself known and address the board.
Laura, there's no one in person with us here in the meeting, just so you know.
Thank you. And I don't see anyone who is not an employee on the list of people joined virtually of 8. So I'm going to close the second public session at 8:07. We do not have need for an executive.
Move to
Correct.
adjourn.
Yes, I don't know who that was.
Mr. Lure?
I'll second. This is Mike.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, guys.